2025 has genuinely been the best year for superhero movies of this decade. And I know that's not saying much considering that this decade has pretty much disappointed us in terms of the consistency of high quality superhero projects. We've had some highlights and we've also had some very, 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 very low lights. Both thanks to Marvel, of course. But Marvel definitely got it right with their superhero movies this year. All across the board, all three of their movies this year have been absolutely fantastic, right? And the reason I say fantastic is because the standout of this year, in my opinion, was actually Fantastic Four First Steps. Now, I do think that Thunderbolts is the best of 2025, right? Out of all three of the MCU movies that were released, I do believe that Thunderbolts is the best, right? But the reason why I think Fantastic Four was the standout was because Marvel finally made a good Fantastic Four movie. Oh my days. And I used to pray for times like this, genuinely. For those of you who don't know, Fantastic Four are one of my favorite superhero teams of all time. In fact, they're my second favorite Marvel superhero team. And they're arguably top three superhero teams for me, with the Justice League and the X-Men being slightly above the Fantastic Four. But the Fantastic Four have pretty much been one of my favorite superhero teams for the longest time, and they are probably some of Marvel's most underrated, low key, like slightly underrated because of the popularity of the Avengers and the X-Men over the last few decades. They've kind of fallen under the radar. And they've always been one of my favorites ever since I started reading comics. They've always been one of my favorites, right? And when it gets to making movies about them and making live action movies about them specifically, they did not stop delivering trash. Like, seriously, they would not stop with the trash. They genuinely wouldn't stop, right? So, in the 90s, they released a Fantastic Four movie, which was absolute dog poop, right? It was terrible. I don't think anyone has seen this movie, and if you have seen this movie, then yeah, I want to see shocked that you've seen this movie. The only reason I've seen this movie is because I dug for it. I heard about it being like released somewhere. Like it wasn't even released in theaters. I'm pretty sure it was actually like a DVD, straight to DVD release. So I dug for it from the internet and ended up watching it, and that movie is absolutely disgusting. It's terrible. Then we have the 2005 and 2007 movies with Jessica Alba and Chris Evans, you know, those movies, right? And I mean, the only reason why you watched those movies was because of Jessica Alba, let's be honest, right? You weren't watching those movies because they were actually good, right? We watched them because we all had a crush on Jessica Alba, right? Like I'm guilty. I'm guilty as charged, right? And those movies weren't that good either, and they pretty much messed up on every single like front, right? There's a bit of nostalgia behind them, of course, because they're 2000s movies and people get nostalgia for things that came out in the 2000s, whatever, right? But other than that, those movies were pretty terrible. The villains were terrible. The CGI was pretty awful. Everything about those movies was just bad, right? So those are those movies. And then in 2015, they decided, you know what? Four, Fantastic Four, four times the charm. So then they made Fant Four Stick, as I like to call it, because they have a four in place of one of the A's. So I just call it Fant Four Stick. And Fant Four Stick is one of, if not the worst superhero movie of all time. It actually sucks. And it's one of my least favorite movies ever. That movie is absolutely awful. It's terrible. It is a terrible, terrible freaking movie, right? So there's that movie, right? And now, you know, Marvel, they were like, you know what? It's been 10 years. Let's give it another go, okay? And I told myself before this movie came out that if this movie was not good, right? If this movie was not good, that like I wouldn't know what to do with myself, honestly. I don't know if I would ever like be okay with Marvel attempting Fantastic Four ever again. And you know what? And you know what? Somehow, in what was already a great 2025, in what was already a great year for superhero movies, right? Marvel did it. They pulled it off. They actually made a good Fantastic Four movie. And I watched the movie, right? I didn't watch it when it released, but I watched it after, right? Like a few months after. it released, and bro, bro, that's all I have to say. That movie was fantastic. It was fantastic. How else would you describe a Fantastic Four movie other than saying that it's fantastic? For starters, the casting was perfect, right? Pedro Pascal, there's a bit of controversy around him. He's starting to become a bit polarizing, as an actor, right? But you know what? He actually works as Mr. Fantastic, and I actually liked his Mr. Fantastic. I wasn't the biggest fan of John Krasinski's Mr. Fantastic in Doctor Strange: Multiverse of Madness, and I'm glad they killed off the Illuminati, Loki, because I did not want to see them returning roles in those characters that they played. I was really not interested. I couldn't care less, honestly. I did see some potential in Black Bolt, but that's besides the point, right? Pedro Pascal is actually a good Mr. Fantastic, and he's honestly was for me a top choice going into make the making of this movie, right? So I'm actually glad that they stuck with him, and he actually ended up being a great Mr. Fantastic, right? Um, I think that casting, I always forget this guy's name. Um, I always forget this guy's name. Joseph Quinn. Yeah, Joseph Quinn is Human Torch. I was a bit skeptical on, but you know what? He ended up being pretty flippin' great. He actually ended up being great. He honestly ended up being great, and he actually like really, really impressed me. Um, the guy who played the Thing, Ebon, I believe his name is Ebon. Yes, he was also great. He was actually really good in the role as a Thing, and I honestly, he actually very much impressed me. I actually liked the Thing a lot in the movie, and I'm actually surprised at how strong he was. Um, like if you like go back and rewatch like the beginning of the movie when he was pulling like that massive cruise ship, like that's like some like super like Henry Cavill Superman like level strength right there. So I'm actually impressed. I'm actually surprised that they made the Thing like that strong, right? I thought he was gonna be way weaker, right? But I'm really glad they made him like really really strong, right? I'm really glad that they did that, right? And I think that Ebon played a he did a really good job playing the Thing, and I mean, that's all I can really say about the Thing. And then Vanessa Kirby as Sue Storm, she is probably the best in my opinion. I think she is the best, and I think I'm a bit biased because Invisible Woman is my favorite member of the Fantastic Four, and she's also the most powerful. So I mean, but she was honestly pretty great in the role, and I honestly have no complaints about her either. She was amazing, right? And that's the first thing that they did right, the casting, right? The next thing that they did right was getting Silver Surfer, right? Now, this is not your typical Silver Surfer. This is not Norrin Rad, right? So, for those of you who are going to this movie expecting Norrin Rad or hadn't seen any trailers or didn't know anything, sorry to disappoint you, but this is the female Silver Surfer. And you know what? Female Silver Surfer was just as good, dude. Like, I don't know what to tell you. She was just as good. Um, and Galactus was a little bit underwhelming, but you know what? It's better than being a flipping cloud, dude. I'd rather Galactus be like way smaller and like city sized than be a flipping cloud in the sky. I would take that. Or I would take him being like way smaller than like him being a flipping cloud, like not even looking like his original comic book counterpart, right? So I'm glad that they got that right. And then honestly, like the action sequences, the chemistry between all of the characters, all the members, they are a family, so it makes sense that they like bond and connect and like have this family dynamic. They have Sunday dinner and all this stuff. Like it's supposed to be like that because they're a family at the end of the day. They're one of the few superhero teams that genuinely operates as a family, right? The Justice League, yeah, they're not really like they're friends. They're great friends. They're colleagues. They're workers. But like they function more like a corporation. They don't function like a family. Like the Avengers are closer to each other than like the Justice League are. But I still wouldn't say like the Avengers are like a family, right? When I'm talking about like superhero teams are like a family, the X-Men definitely are in that conversation, but the Fantastic Four are a superhero team that are basically like a family. And I could feel as though I was a part of their family. Like they were so tight, and like they had so much great chemistry, and they were so tight with each other that I actually felt like I was a part of the family too while watching the movie. And I think that that's one of the biggest accomplishments that could have ever come out of this movie. And I'm really, really impressed with how great this movie turned out. And it honestly gives me hope for the future. If Marvel can actually get Fantastic Four right, think about all the other characters that were done dirty that could actually be done right. Like this Blade project, if it ever releases, could be very good, right? Because the first Blade movie from the 90s is really good. The second one, it was okay. And the third one, Blade Trinity, absolutely an awful, like disgusting mess, right? So Marvel knows what they're doing. They can pull this stuff off. They can make something good. They just need to lock in on what they're trying to make and just make it to the best of their ability. Stop focusing on quantity and start focusing on quality, right? We had four Fantastic Four movies. All four of them were terrible because, I don't know, like, they just didn't know how to handle the Fantastic Four and their villains and the dynamic between the characters and actually making them feel like a family, right? But with this one, Marvel finally got it right. In terms of where it places on my ranking of like MCU movies, I definitely think it's on the higher end compared to the low end, but I don't think it's top 10 either. Um I think I don't think it's top 10, but I do think that it's one of the better MCU movies, and it's definitely it without a question it'll easily get like an 8.5 out of 10 for me. I thought that movie was great, man. That's really all I can say. The movie was fantastic. I've said fantastic at least 5 times now, so yeah, that's pretty much where we're gonna end the video. Thank you guys so much for watching my Fantastic Four review. Um, Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't subscribed already, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace.